I want you to picture two apartments, same city, same neighborhood, identical rent. The first apartment belongs to someone earning $95,000 a year. Walk inside and you'll find a 70-inch television mounted to the wall, a leather couch that cost $4,000, a kitchen cluttered with appliances still in their original boxes, a closet overflowing with clothes, tags still attached. This person checks their bank account with a tight feeling in their chest. They're two missed paychecks away from collapse. The second apartment belongs to someone earning $52,000. Walk inside and you'll see space. A modest couch, a kitchen with exactly the tools that get used, a closet with clothes that actually get worn. This person has 18 months of expenses saved and invests 20% of every paycheck. Same neighborhood, the person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. This isn't a story about income. It's about a hidden relationship between what you own and the money you keep that most people never see. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 minimalist money rules that separate people who always have money from people who never do, regardless of income. These aren't about deprivation. They're about understanding that every object you own has ongoing costs you've probably never calculated. Let me start with the one concept that changes everything. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is obvious. It's the purchase price, the number on the receipt, but there's a second cost that most people completely ignore, and it's often larger than the first. The second cost includes storage, maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity cost. That treadmill you bought takes about 20 square feet of space, and space in most cities costs $30 to $50 per square foot per year. That's $600 to $1,000 annually, just to store exercise equipment you mostly use as a clothes rack. That boat in your driveway needs winterization, cleaning, registration, insurance, and occasional repairs. The industry rule says annual maintenance runs about 10% of the boat's value. A $30,000 boat costs $3,000 a year just to own, even if you never take it on the water. Rule 1. Calculate cost per use before you buy anything. Estimate how many times you'll realistically use it. Divide the total cost by that number. That gives you the cost per use, the only honest measure of value. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per wear. A $400 jacket worn 200 times costs $2 per wear. The expensive jacket is actually cheaper in any meaningful sense. This math destroys most impulse purchases. That $300 kitchen gadget you'll use twice a year costs $150 per use. That's an obscenely expensive way to chop one onion. Meanwhile, a $30 tool you use weekly costs less than 60 cents per use. The math cuts through marketing. It cuts through emotion. It cuts through social pressure. It reveals what actually makes financial sense versus what just feels appealing for 48 hours. Rule 2. Apply the replacement test to everything you already own. Walk through your home. Look at each item. Ask yourself one simple question. If this item disappeared today, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest. Would you actually go buy another fondue set? Would you replace that bread maker collecting dust? Would you repurchase clothes you haven't worn in 18 months? For most items, the honest answer is no. You wouldn't replace them. They exist in your life through inertia, not intention. These items have negative value. They cost you space, mental energy, maintenance, without giving any of it back. Removing them isn't a sacrifice. It's a refund, paid back in attention, in time, and eventually in dollars. Minimalists ruthlessly eliminate items that fail the replacement test. They sell what has value, donate what someone else could use, and discard what serves nobody. Rule 3. Never upgrade out of boredom. There's a pattern I see constantly among people who earn good incomes but have nothing to show for it. They upgrade perfectly functional items simply because they're bored with them. Their television works perfectly, but the new model has slightly better contrast. Their phone operates flawlessly, but the new release has a marginally improved camera. Their car runs reliably, but the New Year's model has updated styling. These upgrades feel like improvements. They're actually wealth destruction disguised as progress. Minimalists keep a strict policy: never replace something that functions properly. The average American replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years, often while the previous phone works perfectly. Over 30 years, this pattern costs $30,000 to $50,000 in unnecessary purchases. Applied across every category where upgrade culture operates, the lifetime waste easily exceeds $200,000. The fix is simple. Define functional clearly. An item remains functional until it genuinely fails to serve its purpose. Boredom is not failure. Desire for novelty is not failure. Actual mechanical breakdown is failure. Everything else is marketing convincing you to solve problems you don't have. Rule 4. Create friction for spending and ease for saving. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. If spending is easy and saving is difficult, you'll spend. If saving is easy and spending is difficult, you'll save. Minimalists engineer their environment to make the right choice the easy choice. Spending friction looks like removing stored credit card numbers from online retailers, requiring a 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase. Deleting shopping apps from your phone, unsubscribing from promotional emails, avoiding stores unless you have a specific intended purchase. Saving ease looks like automatic transfers to investment accounts on payday, keeping only small amounts in easily accessible checking, making investment contributions happen before you see the money. These structural changes matter more than willpower. Willpower depletes throughout the day. Environment is constant. The 24-hour waiting rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desires for objects fade within a day if not acted upon immediately. Rule 5. Count your possessions regularly. This sounds obsessive until you actually do it. Counting forces awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation. Pick a category. Count how many items you own in that category. Write it down. The numbers often shock people who've never examined their consumption objectively. How many shirts do you own? Most people guess low and discover they have 3 or 4 times what they estimated. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many books you'll never read again? The count itself changes behavior. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying another feels different. You're not adding a shirt, you're bringing your collection to 48. The absurdity becomes visible. Minimalists track key categories over time. They set maximum thresholds, perhaps 30 items of clothing total, perhaps 15 books at any given time, perhaps a one-in, one-out policy where any new purchase requires removing something existing. These constraints prevent lifestyle creep. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you buy. Most items people purchase get used intensively for a short period and then rarely afterward. The excitement of newness fades. The item joins the collection of things owned but seldom touched. Minimalists test this pattern by renting or borrowing before committing to ownership. Want to get into camping? Rent equipment for the first few trips? Want to try woodworking? Borrow tools from a friend or use a makerspace? Want a kayak? Rent several times before purchasing. This approach reveals whether the enthusiasm is genuine or temporary. Many interests fade after the initial exploration. Better to discover this while renting than after purchasing equipment that collects dust indefinitely. The buy-first mentality costs people enormously over their lifetimes. Closets and garages across America contain dusty remnants of abandoned hobbies. Ski equipment from the phase when they thought they'd ski regularly. Photography gear from when they imagined becoming serious photographers. Minimalists avoid becoming museums of past enthusiasm. Rule 7. Understand the lifestyle multiplier effect. Every possession you own connects to other possessions. A boat requires a trailer, a hitch-equipped vehicle, storage fees, maintenance supplies, safety equipment, and appropriate clothing. A purchase that seems singular actually triggers a cascade of supporting purchases. This is the lifestyle multiplier. Major purchases multiply into ecosystems of related expenses. The true cost is never just the item itself. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, ventilation considerations, and often renovations to make the space suitable. A pool requires chemical supplies, cleaning equipment, covers, furniture, and often landscaping. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. They know a $5,000 purchase might actually represent $8,000 or $12,000 when all the multiplier expenses are included. The multiplier also works in reverse. Eliminating one major possession often eliminates an entire category of related expenses. Selling the boat means no more storage fees, insurance, registration, maintenance, or towing costs. The savings extend far beyond the item's value. Rule 8. Define enough before you start earning. Here's something that traps high earners constantly. They never define what enough looks like, so they keep purchasing more without ever arriving at satisfaction. Their income increases, so they upgrade their lifestyle. The new lifestyle becomes normal, so they need another income increase to feel progress. This cycle continues indefinitely. People earning $300,000 feel just as financially stressed as people earning $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded alongside their income. Minimalists break this cycle by defining enough before they earn it. They decide in advance what kind of home is sufficient, what kind of car meets their needs, what level of material comfort constitutes genuine satisfaction. Then they earn toward that target rather than constantly moving the goalpost. The person who defined enough at $60,000 of annual spending and then starts earning $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary rate. The $90,000 gap goes directly to financial freedom. Meanwhile, someone earning the same amount but constantly redefining enough upward might save almost nothing. Rule 9. Measure wealth by optionality, not accumulation. The conventional view measures wealth by what you have: houses, cars, possessions, visible markers of success. Minimalists measure wealth differently. They measure it by what they can choose. Can you leave a job that's destroying your mental health? Can you take 6 months off to handle a family emergency? Can you move to a new city for a relationship? Can you retire before 65? These options represent true wealth. They're only available to people who've built substantial margin between their income and expenses. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no optionality. They're chained to their income requirement. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary optionality. They can absorb disruptions, take risks, and make choices based on preference rather than financial necessity. Optionality requires liquid resources more than physical possessions. The money tied up in a car you don't need is money that can't buy your freedom when you need it. Each purchase isn't just exchanging money for an object, it's trading optionality for possession. Rule 10. Practice cyclical decluttering instead of annual purging. Most people who attempt minimalism do a massive purge, feel great for a few weeks, and then gradually accumulate back to their starting point. Within 2 years, they're right back where they started. Minimalists avoid this pattern through cyclical decluttering. Rather than annual purges, they perform small regular reviews, weekly glances at incoming items, monthly evaluation of one category, quarterly assessment of overall accumulation. This cyclical approach catches accumulation early before it rebuilds. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable. Removing 300 items once per year feels overwhelming and gets postponed. The cyclical approach also maintains awareness. When you evaluate your possessions regularly, you notice patterns. You see which categories tend to grow. You identify which emotional states trigger acquisition. You recognize which marketing tactics work on you specifically. This awareness enables prevention rather than just treatment. So here's what to do this week, this month, this quarter, this year. This week, walk through your home with the replacement test in mind. Find 10 items you would not replace if they vanished tomorrow. Sell them, donate them, or just let them go. This month, implement the 24-hour rule for all non-essential purchases. Track how many purchase desires survive the waiting period versus how many evaporate. The data will reveal how much of your spending is impulsive rather than intentional. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories that tend to accumulate. For most people, clothing, kitchen items, and media are useful starting points. Set a maximum threshold for each category based on what you actually use. This year, define what enough looks like across major spending categories. What home is sufficient? What transportation is adequate? What wardrobe meets your genuine needs? Write these definitions down. Refer to them when temptation arises to exceed your own standards. The financial transformation from these practices compounds over time. Someone who applies these rules consistently for 5 years accumulates substantially less while saving substantially more. The gap between their lifestyle and their income creates wealth that can't be built any other way. Here's what nobody tells you about minimalism and money. The relationship is bidirectional. Owning less creates more money, but having more money also makes owning less feel natural. When your savings account is robust and your investments are growing, the urge to accumulate diminishes. The psychological need that drives most consumption, the need for security and status, gets satisfied by financial strength rather than physical possessions. That apartment I described at the beginning, the one belonging to someone earning $52,000 with 18 months of savings, belongs to someone applying these rules consistently. They didn't get there through exceptional income. They got there through exceptional clarity about what actually matters. The other apartment, the one belonging to someone earning $95,000, whose 2 paychecks from crisis, belongs to someone who never questioned the assumption that more stuff equals better life. Both lifestyles are available to you, regardless of what you currently earn. The choice is simply whether you want to own your possessions or whether you're comfortable with your possessions owning you. The math strongly favors the first option. So does the peace of mind. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.